all eyes are on the Aaron Rodgers situation. From what we've gathered, the Jordan Love draft pick rubbed him the wrong way, and then perhaps not keeping Kumaro on the roster at the end of training camp last year. But those were months ago. Did you have a sense during the season that this was going to end up in DEFCON 4, or is this a recent revelation?
No, never. I didn't have any idea. I'm not close to Rodgers at all, so it's not like he would be telling me things that he's not telling anybody else. I mean, so I would say that first, but no, I didn't hear anything about his dissatisfaction. He obviously is a quirky guy, and I don't know how many people in our business really know him. But I never had any idea that it rose to this level of anger. In fact, last year around the time of the draft, right after the draft, I had heard that he was really ticked off that they picked Jordan Love. And he quasi-denied it, but didn't really deny it. And now it seems like all the anger traces back to that. And not only picking a quarterback, I honestly don't think that picking a quarterback is that big of an issue to Aaron Rodgers. I think ignoring the wide receiver position for so long, I think, 6 drafts in a row, they didn't pick a receiver in the first either 3 or 4 rounds of the draft. And so, look, I just think there's an accumulation of things. But honestly, Damon, I think the biggest part of this is that he just doesn't feel valued. He doesn't feel like for a player of his stature that people on the Packers in the front office really value his opinion very much or want to know what his opinion is. And I think that bugs them. The Kumaro example is a great example. Like that, to me, and I'll just put it in this way. If you were practicing with a group of wide receivers all along, and you knew which ones, in your opinion, got open the best, were physical when they were making cuts if need be, and all this. If you felt really good about those guys, in my opinion, I don't understand why at the time the rosters are being cut on Labor Day weekend. I do not understand why you don't just say to Rodgers, "Hey, listen, here's what we're doing. Give us your input on this." I would want to know what my quarterback thought of the receivers before the cut down date and during the season. If we had to promote a receiver from the practice squad or go out of the organization to go get a receiver somewhere, I would want to know what Aaron Rodgers thought. And I continue to think that this is probably one of the ways that the Packers could put the genie back in the bottle in telling Rodgers that they're going to be focused on him to give more input for team events, I should say, that involve him.
So I struggle with this because I, like you, thought that, well, you should listen to the quarterback. You should listen to what Rodgers' preferences are. And drafting Jordan Love last year is obviously going to rub him the wrong way. But I struggle with this part. Davante Adams is one of the best wide receivers in football. And the wide receivers weren't really a problem last year. They had really good depth. They have a really good running back. They went to back-to-back NFC championship games. They seem to hire a really good coach. So how much can we really blame the front office for, quote, not supporting Aaron Rodgers?
That's a really good question. I guess what I would say is that I think Allen Lazard is a good NFL receiver. I think Davante Adams is a great NFL receiver. After that, if you think of it this way, Damon, right now in the NFL, I think the figure is that 71% of the snaps last year in the NFL, 71% involved 3 or more wide receivers on the field, at the same time. It's not good enough, in my opinion, to have one great receiver, one good receiver, and then a bunch of flotsam after that. And I think guys like Aaron Rodgers, and I would say Russell Wilson too, I think they look at what happens when Tom Brady goes to Tampa. And when Tom Brady looks at his team and they're injured at receiver, and Tom Brady goes in, and I don't know if pleading is the right word, but Tom Brady goes into Bruce Arians and Jason Light, general manager, and says, we would be so much better right now if we got Antonio Brown. And so they signed Antonio Brown. Now, I talked to Arians that weekend when they did it, and Arians absolutely insisted to me, and I take Bruce Arians at his word that, yes, of course Tom Brady wanted him, but this is a decision we made as a team. Now, I'm sure that that's correct, but I guess what I am saying, if they didn't have Brady waving the pom-poms for Antonio Brown, would they have done that? And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. If you look at the draft last year, the last 2 years really, and they did take a receiver at the end of the third round this year, Amari Rodgers from Clemson. But if you look at the draft the last 2 years, they were historically great at the wide receiver position, and Brian Gutekunst never took one. And so didn't take one prominently. I forget whether he took one late in 2019 or not, but last year he didn't take one at all. And look, those kind of things are open for discussion about why teams do certain things. And I am not arguing with you in any way. I think this organization has supported Aaron Rodgers well, but I do think that there are ways to support him better and to do the right thing for the organization, too. And in 2 historically great drafts for wide receivers and not picking one, prominently, in my opinion, what that is saying is, hey, look, Aaron is the rising tide that lifts all boats. We don't really need to take a receiver here. So I think that's where Rodgers gets frustrated. And look, I had somebody out there tell me last week, how angry should Aaron Rodgers be with the highest scoring team in football last year? And I get it. I totally, absolutely get it. So there are issues that you can argue on both sides of it.
Yeah, I think that's well put. Peter King joins us this morning here on the show from NBC Sports. If he ends up in either Denver or Las Vegas, apparently 2 of his preferred destinations, can he win big there being in the same division as Patrick Mahomes, or does he automatically take a step down from championship aspirations that he has in Green Bay?
I think, personally, I think wherever he win, he'd win big. Now, when I say win big, would you beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Would you beat the resurgent Chargers? I can't tell you that. I mean, if you look at what he has been dealing with in the NFC North, he's been dealing with a team that consistently has struggled at quarterback in Chicago. He's been dealing with 2 other teams that have good quarterbacks, but just have never put it all together in Minnesota and Detroit. And if he goes to a division with the Kansas City Chiefs in it, I mean, I don't know who's going to win the division, but I'll tell you what, I like their chances a lot better than I like them with Drew Lock or with Teddy Bridgewater, obviously. But having said that, I'm just going to make and I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess I would just make this point. And I understand how logical it is for everybody to wonder, okay, what are the teams he could go to? So let's start trying to figure out the teams. Well, of course Denver would be interested, and I do believe that Vegas would be interested too. But at the end of the day, it takes 2 to tango, and it's going to take an absolute earthquake for President Mark Murphy, GM Brian Gutekunst, to trade Aaron Rodgers to anybody.
That's fascinating. Peter King joins us this morning on the show. There's so much going on around the NFL aside from just Aaron Rodgers, and his Football Morning in America column is up right now about the upcoming schedule release as well on Wednesday night. That's tomorrow night. We get to see the NFL schedule, and Peter has some guesses on the potential opener with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's a really good read. I highly encourage you to check it out. It is a great primer for all football fans. You can follow him on Twitter at Peter_King. He's tweeted it out a couple of times recently. Check it out for NBCSports.com as well. Peter, it's always great to pick your brain. Thanks so much for doing it with us this morning. I really appreciate it.
All right, take care, David. Thank you.
You too. Peter King joining us this morning here on the show. Excellent stuff.